Hello and welcome to Legally Speaking with me, Tarun Nangia. Today we're going to discuss a very interesting topic, which is using forensic science to settle arbitration matters. How can arbitration issues reach conclusion, a successful conclusion, using the study and the science of forensic science? This is what we're going to discuss today. I have with me a guest who's an expert on the subject of forensic science. And why is forensic science linked to arbitration? That is something which we'll get to know on the show. How will it will help settle property cases, commercial cases? Because otherwise you would have heard forensics only in the realm of, say, crimes or criminal matters. We are talking of hardcore commercial matters where property and commercial disputes will be settled. My guest today is Dr. G.K. Goswami. Currently, his charge is as the founding director of the UP State Institute of Forensic Science at Lucknow since 1 year. Good to see you, Dr. Goswami. And for my audience to know a little bit more about, I was reading about you and I found out that though currently you are a founding director of the UP State Institute of Forensic Science, you are a 97 batch IPS officer of the Uttar Pradesh cadre. You hail from Meerut and you have an interest in science, law and interconnecting law with forensic science, and you served as an SSP in Lucknow, Agra, Varanasi, Moradabad and Noida. What was very interesting is when I was reading about you, I found out that you also served in the United Nations and was also a joint director in CBI for 7 years. That would have given you an experience in so many kinds of cases that you tackled, and you were a Flex awardee under the Fulbright Fellowship and went for researching wrongful conviction. Very interesting, at the Cornell Law School, United States of America. And you were awarded the President of India Gallantry Medal 3 times. Yes. Indeed, you have a very illustrious CV, and my audience will be happy to know. So at the outset, since our topic is so interesting, using forensic science to settle arbitration matters / commercial disputes also, could you give me a 3, 4, 5 minute introduction into the topic and then we move on to detailed questions?
Yeah, well, thank you very much for inviting Tarun to this show. And in fact, this is my second visit to your this effort for speaking about the forensic science and various other domain, how it will help to bring justice, access to justice, and simplifying, the complex matter like you said about the arbitration. So it is a very challenging task, no doubt, whether it is arbitration, commercial matters and many more. But in the beginning itself, let me clarify that forensic science is basically a tool, right? So it depends actually how you utilize. It has multi-dimensional, utility. So we will be confining today our discussion to arbitration and commercial matters. So let me tell you that whatever is the dispute, mostly in commercial matter or say arbitration, mostly in arbitration, whatever I understood as a legal expert or legal researcher, I find that it is the method actually. So basically it is a commercial dispute, but if you go for the arbitration method, then arbitration comes, or you may go to any civil dispute court or something like that. So the matter remains that whether it is a document which is disputed, it may be a financial transaction which is disputed. So there is some kind of property involved. Okay. So in, say for example, in property dispute or any financial dispute or maybe contractual dispute, so arbitration is basically a method to prove whether I am right or wrong for my claim. How forensic science can help? The document examination, particularly the forensic examination of document, is very important. There may be a dispute of writing, there may be a dispute of signature, or there may be a dispute of its originality, right? So all these things can be given in a very systematic manner, in a very scientific manner, with highest probability, whether a signature is with the original person, even if a person is dead, maybe 100-year-old testament may be there, that also can be proved. Otherwise, by oral testimony, it is very difficult to prove. So forensic science can play very dominant role in commercial disputes.
One thing that I would know from you in detail is, for example, say in India, property disputes are endemic because land records are not kept properly. Documentation of land records is also not correct in many cases. There are instances of forgery. Given these facts, could you share with us that in complex property disputes where properties are, say, 60 years old, 70 years old, and papers are also of that time, and there is a risk of forgery, how can forensic science help us to settle those matters?
Okay, well. With my police experience, I tell you that property dispute particularly has two angles.
Yes.
One is sometime, and especially in the rural area, the dispute is whether the lineage is correct or not. Okay. Sometime a person may rise saying that I am the son or I am a daughter of X or Y, right? So how to prove the lineage? That is one very, very important question. So to answer this, forensic science has DNA profiling. Okay. So that is the best way that can connect whether I belongs to my father or my mother. So DNA is the best instrument. So DNA is one thing, right? For otherwise, like say if it is a thumb impression on any deed or something, maybe signature, maybe handwriting. So document examination or signature or handwriting examination can prove or disprove your claim. So these are scientifically approved facts. So the beauty of forensic science is that they are neutral. They can prove the document for both sides, like the petitioner as well as the defendant, right? So this is one, it is neutral. Second, it is scientifically validated. It is not just that, okay, I presume that it is his signature, or I think it is his signature or his handwriting. No, it can say with certainty, to the greater certainty. The chances of error are very, very little. Third, that if there is any suspicion, then you can retest it. You can retest. Suppose if you have sent a document for forensic examination and you have some suspicion, maybe as a judge, maybe as a opponent party, and you suspect that this report is not correct, then you can request the honorable judge and they can send it to the another laboratory for testing. So this is the beauty. Otherwise, if someone say, I know this is the signature of X, how do you know that he is right? Right? So element of suspicion is there, but in forensic report, that suspicion element is very, very minimal. And with the help of AI, even that minimal suspicion is also corrected. So by and large, now this science is settled to be close to absolute correct.
One thing that I see very frequently in high-stake property disputes in India is forging of wills. In newspapers, you will see headlines, the will is forged. There is a wrongful will. This will was never written. Could you explain me with the help of some hypothetical examples that in these kind of instances where there is an allegation from either party that the will has been forged, how can forensic science help us reach a conclusion in such disputes?
Well, if the will is ab initio forged, then there must be either signature, right? Or there may be thumb impression, depending upon the circumstances. And there are two type of people at least involved. The person who has actually signed the bill, right? Who is the author of the will, and maybe one or two may be the witness, right? So the signature of these people, whether it is the person who is the author or the even sometime the witness, even if he is alive, he may tell a lie. So the signature can be easily tested through forensic examination. So that will bring the truth before the court. So that is the advantage of this. Otherwise, it is very difficult to say. One party will say that this is the signature I did. Another party will say, no, it is wrong. This is the live case. Another maybe suppose the author is dead. Then you don't have the person live to get signature for sample. Then you must have different signature of by the same person who is deceased now, in the past signature, maybe in the bank or maybe some authentic signature. So those sample can also be collected and can also be matched. So this is the best way how arbitration or any property dispute or any intellectual property right, even not only this commercial dispute ends here, there may be some counterfeiting also. I had occasion to visit Interpol when I was in CBI, and you will surprise that forensic science was used for various counterfeiting, disputes very well.
Like for example,
I tell you that suppose there is a high brand wine, right? How to prove that this wine is exactly the same which a company has made? And there are not only for wine, say for any product, say for that Alfonso mango or something you have exported, right? Or you have imported, and you have doubt whether this product is correct or not. So you can have the DNA testing for that, right? So these type of things are very important, and nowadays that is called DNA barcode. So on the product you can put a barcode and can send it so that they can check it whether it is with the purity or not.
okay,
Suppose you want to export fish or any some eatable, maybe of animal origin. So whether this particular meat belongs to a particular animal or not, right? To which you claim. So DNA has these days this potential. It can prove that this particular fish has been you can say cultivated in a particular area. So even the area can be defined.
okay.
So that is the beauty of forensic science, to integrate the probity of the content.
So basically, you're saying the food industry, the applicability is a lot.
Perfect. Too much. Even for the rice, like say basmati rice, we export a lot. So if we put bar tag on that DNA bar, right, they can check it anywhere. There are the libraries actually for the particular product of area, and these libraries are available internationally. They are standardized, and anybody can check it by paying few, you can say $100, not $100, maybe some two, little more, and then you can check it that whether my product is correct or not. So I think the next generation is going to be the forensic barcoding.
Is it so?
Yes.
Okay.
So that is very important part.
See, if you could give me one or two more examples in the food
I
sector.
tell you very interestingly, I think next generation we can think of this, and my institute is planning of this kind. Like, why can't we think of our barcode on our signature?
Barcode on the signature.
Barcode of signature. Suppose like we are making the data in our Aadhaar card or anything.
Yes.
Why can't we have a barcode for signature? Like I am GK Goswami. If I put my signature and any agency can make a barcode of that particular signature, and it can be made a repository like Aadhaar card, so that it cannot be tampered.
Okay.
So any point of time it can be used by anybody, and nobody can say that this is not my signature. Yes. Suppose if I say tomorrow for personal reason that this signature is not mine. Right. So you have to go for all testing, all dispute resolution and all. If I have already a signature and barcode is there, then it can be just like scanning. It can be proved whether this is my signature or not. So this can also be another way of doing things.
Right.
And it will resolve lot many issues and challenges.
But if you could tell me 3-4 ways in which property and inheritance will change after forensics is used in future. For example, now we discuss disputes. In future, how will property papers, can they be made in a way so that there is very little room for dispute? See, in India, property is the single biggest reason for litigation. Civil litigation is endemic in India. And forgery is also endemic. In that case, you hear allegations in every dispute that there is some forgery. What can be done to stop it? And how forensic science will help us reach there?
Well, I think I will add one point more. What you said that civil disputes are endemic because of this forgery and all. I add one point as a police officer, that even majority of our criminal matters are the derivative of civil disputes.
Is it?
Yeah, because if you do not, because in India, I think the sheer number of civil disputes are too long.
Okay.
So their disposal is also take sometimes decades and decades.
Yes.
Sometimes generation also pass and dispute may not be resolved
Yes.
from one court to another. So they cut short and they go for the criminal settlement.
Okay.
So they hire somebody to settle that dispute, and so many ways actually how the criminal angle enter into civil disputes.
Yes.
So that also add burden on our society and especially on our judiciary particularly. So as you rightly mentioned that if we have some mechanism that the signature get approved officially. Nowadays what happens that if you go any registry, land registry office, so nobody actually check that whether the document which somebody is submitting, say for example your Aadhaar card, although Aadhaar card can be checked, but everywhere the facility is not available, whether GK Goswami, what I am submitting Aadhaar card,
Yes.
the photograph is correct, the details are correct or not. So they generally look whether the revenue has been properly deposited or not. So their angle is more on revenue collection rather than checking or verifying the correctness or genuineness of the credential of the buyer or seller. Right? So if these things are taken into account, and as you said that forensic science can do help. As I mentioned that if we have signature or say for example fingerprint, if we have the reservoir of that and if we connect that to find out whether the person is right or wrong, then it can be easily stopped. I hope I made it clear.
Yes.
If we have a data bank and just give the access, there is no privacy issue in that. Right? What is the privacy? If suppose I am signing a document and there is a bank or data bank of signature or fingerprint or something like we have data bank for our Aadhaar card. If the signature is also made part of it and it is made accessible to the public office of say registration of the land and all, and if they get verified, I think many dispute can be resolved.
One thing I want to know, in the existing disputes that are on in all courts of India, we see civil disputes are huge in number. How much is the willingness of the courts to order forensic investigation of documents to quickly settle disputes? Do you see this happening now?
I think in civil matters, most of the time, the forensic usage is very little.
Okay.
Very, very little. Second, I think the major reason may be, although there may be multiple reasons, but what I could see that many people, including our honorable judges, they are not knowing the power of forensic science.
Okay.
So we need to have the capacity building, the education, better understanding of forensic science to all stakeholders.
So let's take an example. UP, there are 44 lakh cases pending, which is a huge number of cases. Many will be civil cases, lakhs and lakhs in number. If judges are trained to use forensic science, do you think as also a police officer that dispute can be disposed of quickly?
Yes, I think the government of India, now you must be aware that all our three criminal laws, particularly the major act including IPC, CRPC, Evidence Act, all are transformed. They have been completely overhauled and new set of criminal laws are going to be implemented from 1st of July this year. Yes. And one section, particularly section 176 subsection 3 of Bharatiya Nagrik Suraksha Sanhita, it mandate that compulsory forensic investigation in those criminal cases where punishment is either 7 years or more. So now you have no choice as a police officer, but you have to conduct forensic investigation in these cases. Now onwards, I think forensic science will get more and more importance in the justice system. I think it is the time that it should not restrict only to criminal matters, but it should also percolate to civil matters, civil disputes. Like you said about arbitration, the commercial dispute. As a police chief, I had the occasion to serve as the chief of ATS Uttar Pradesh, and you won't believe that all cases what we conducted, whether it was the faith conversion case, many more cases, all have direct linkages financially, which were very important evidence in the court of law, which we provide by way of forensic investigation of banking sector and all. So I think the next generation for investigation particularly is the financial forensics.
Can you explain? This is very interesting.
Financial forensics, what I mean to say that barring very few criminal cases, and I think in 100% cases of civil matters, there is some dispute for money or maybe some commercial purpose or some monetary benefits, right? So monetary benefits remains the core of majority of disputes, whether it is civil or criminal. Even in criminal, people work for getting money, like in organized crime, right? So there, if you have the trail of banking, and most of the time money flows from banking sector. Even what you call this black market or the money exchange from one place to another. The illegal means what you call that, where the money from one place to another place when they transfer it. Hawala, yes. So even Hawala also we find in our investigation that at the back of it, the money ultimately flow from one bank system only.
Okay.
Yeah, because nobody can transfer money in cash. Say for example, if you are exchanging money in Mumbai, say from Delhi to Mumbai, do you think that much money will move from road or by air or any other means? No. So there are so many bank account of that kind which are dormant for one reason or other, and the bank managers and other touts, they play a role. And my own observation as police officer was that there are very limited bank which actually get involved into these type of things. So if we tap those banks and keep a watch on them, then these kind of nexus can be correct.
One thing I want to know, in case of banking frauds, can forensic be used for investigation for bank fraud?
Yeah, without banking forensics, bank fraud cannot be detected.
Is it so?
Yes, that is a very, very important tool.
Okay.
You see the total flow of the fund, when you go that how the money has been transacted.
Right.
So that is a very beautiful method. And I tell you one example, live example which we did.
Yes.
We were actually dealing with illegal migration from one country to another, right, from Bangladesh to India. Okay. So when we were actually analyzing the bank accounts of one accused, there were around 45 or 46 transactions of same amount. I think it was about 14,500, some similar account. So they were in around 5-6 days, those entries were deducting from that account. So that gave us suspicion, what is this? Why this man is sending same amount to some particular account? And it was the receiver were also the same account. And it was in Kolkata. When we requested the counterpart in Kolkata, the police officer, and they inquired, it was found that the money was deposited in passport office, right? The money was for the purpose of depositing fee for passport making. When we went deep into it, the case was like this, that the people who were migrated from there illegally, right, they changed the name, and based on the illegal documents, the passports were applied, and this money was deposited by a tout sitting there, and that is why the single account was used. And when we found somehow majority of them were issued passport on those forged documents, and then they have been flown out of the country.
Okay.
Yeah. So how this racket is can be broken or can be detected by way of banking forensics.
One thing I want to know, passports also can be detected using forensic. Forged passports are a big problem for.
Very, very correct. That, and very important part, as you said, that if we have some interlink with these days, we have our documents, the village records and other
Yes.
documents online.
Yes.
If we connect that record
Yes.
with, you can say, passport office, they can simply verify whether this address is correct or not.
One thing I want to also know from you, in pharmaceutical industry, it is one of India's biggest industries. Sometimes the goods are rejected, goods as in medicines are rejected on account of impurities, or there are allegations of impurities. How can forensics be used to actually verify whether the allegations are true and proper, or it's an excuse to reject certain goods from being bought? If you could, because see, every medicine has to conform to a standard of purity. Some impurities are allowed, there is a certain measure of impurity beyond which, of course, the medicine can be rejected. Forensic can help us there.
You see, forensic can certainly help because it actually, you can say, reflect upon the constituents. So the molecular level.
Okay.
That say, for example, if it is aspirin or
Yes.
paracetamol,
Yes.
so it has a composition.
Yes.
It has a particular amount of carbon, hydrogen, oxygen and
Yes.
all.
Yes.
So element detection, and these days the mass spectroscopy, gas spectroscopy and many more such type of analysis, NMR and others, latest technology. If we analyze with them, the exact composition can be find out, and if there is a specific impurity, there has to be some specific impurity also in these drugs generally, because when they countermand or something, when they manipulate or they contaminate, they have the certain specific product which they generally mix up.
Yes.
So if you can find out, it is very easy to find. Not a
One
very
more
big
sector where I want to ask you utility of forensics in civil engineering projects, buildings, bridges, highways, other public installations. After the project has been commissioned, the CAG report or there are other reports which will detail that inferior quality material was used. Now, what is inferior quality? In some cases, the steels that was used in the building construction, that is not of the quality. Cement is not of that quality. Do you think forensic tests are done to prove all these things as either impure or pure? It's because in the end there will be an arbitration. Because say for example the government will reject the claim of payment saying inferior quality of material you have used, so payment is rejected. Then of course it will go for arbitration and then litigation. How can forensics use to settle that dispute quickly? In case for example it's a building, a road or any other public utility that's being built. If you can delve into that.
As on date, also we have some mechanism by which the chemical analysis and building material, they are being tested either in Roorkee or many other places, right? But in my opinion, they may be good to know the basics of that. But if you go for any detailed, deep down to find out whether the claim is correct or not, you have to have a protocol. You have to have follow either the Dover test for forensic purpose or the Fry test. There are two tests basically in forensic science. And you will surprise that the majority of development in forensic science came up because of the civil disputes. Like Dover test, which was developed by the US Supreme Court in 1993.
93, 30 years ago.
Yeah, 33. And the first test was in 1923.
Okay.
Now we have almost 1 century and 1 year. So it is almost more than a century old.
Yes.
So that was for polygraph, of course, the Fry test. But Dover test, which is the best test for today, was developed because of the civil dispute. Okay. The Dow pharmaceuticals. Right. So civil dispute can resolve various, the gray areas of forensic science, because the best brain of advocacy can be deployed because of the stakes are very high. So in India, I believe that if forensic science is being used in civil dispute resolution, maybe in arbitration, maybe in various other tribunals, definitely it will be very useful not only for dispute resolution, but even for betterment of forensic science also. Okay. Because the lack of knowledge of forensic science among the top-notch legal advocates also limit the use of forensic science. I think,
is it?
Yeah, it's a time actually to have the more and more understanding of forensic science by the top-notch experts of law.
Thank you. Thank you. Today you shared with us a lot of applications of forensic science in the realm of commerce, in the realm of construction, in the realm of food industry. You have one more point to make?
Yeah, one point I want to give at the last, very interesting case which I think will open our eyes also. I think we all remember the one very important case of Pakistan.
Yes.
Right. The president, the prime minister, Nawaz Sharif, that then he was being imprisoned. He was sent to jail for a case. The very interesting case which was related to civil dispute for property.
Yes.
This family purchased very high ticket property in London.
Yes.
Few flats in very multiple magnitude of money. They were disputed.
Yes.
Right. The claim of this family, Nawaz Sharif family, was that the sale deed, they did it in 2006. How this sale deed was forged? Very interestingly, it was found that the document was printed in the font Calibri.
Okay.
Calibri font was used to make the document. When it was revealed that Calibri font for commercial purpose on Microsoft was provided in 2007, while the document claims that it was prepared in 2006.
Interesting. So through forensic you got to know
Yes.
this. Okay.
So merely by this fact, the document was found forged without any doubt, and they were being convicted. So this is the power of correct information, and particularly.
So basically forensic in this case was used to clear a property dispute.
Yes. So it is a very important estate related dispute, and which is internationally recognized. Everybody knows about it.
Thank you. Today it was very interesting to talk to you. In the next show that we do, we will discuss more on specific cases like the one Nawaz Sharif case which you shared with on property dispute. So ladies and gentlemen, we had a very, very interesting conversation today with Dr. G.K. Goswami, IPS 97 batch, but he's founder director of the UP State Institute of Forensic Sciences. I enjoyed the conversation. I hope you did too. Thank you so much for joining in. Thank you.
For more such videos, subscribe to the NewsX YouTube channel, hit the bell icon.